At the beginning of the story, we see a boy Young-sun running alone at night. During this time, two criminals encompass him. In the encounter, he becomes unconscious by a powerful man's throat. When the senses come, he finds himself at an extremely Jurger operation table. Then a doctor picks a knife, but suddenly by ringing the phone's bell, he goes up the phone by scared. But at the same time, the strange occurs behind him. Young-sun's body parts start to return to its place. The injuries start to fill itself fast, and he wakes up suddenly. He's nervous and drops his face. When the phone turns around, looking back at it when it turns around, looking at the revived Young-sun in front of it. Young-sun starts to find your eyes. As his fingers reach the eyes, muscle silk of both places pull each other, and in the moment eyes fix by joining themselves. This see the doctor seems to shout, which see Young-sun breaks one eye left window and runs away. Since that day, Young-sun often seems to see some strange views. Actually, these are the same scenes that are looking at his other eye, the eye that has now been put into someone else's body. He thinks that man is looking for something, but when that man begins to relax by pouring medication in the eye, the scenes suddenly stop. One day Young-sun looks in a corner that some people are disturbing a man. He immediately tries to save him, but they attack him. In fights, those people cut off his ear, the strap tied over his eye, and when the Gons saw his real eye, standing, screaming around with fear. Then again his ear muscles go to his place and heals in the moment. Seeing this, the old doctor, who had previously had surgery, tells the gang leader. They think the power to fix Young-sun's own is goldmine for them. So the gang leader sends his men everywhere in search of Young-sun. Young-sun is practicing music there. As she plays a special melody, he again seems to see some scenes from the other eye. In a while, all then calm down. Young-sun has to get back its outlined right eye. He finds the Gond who had led him before, but he didn't know that the greeting of that Gond was already tracking his own healing power. When he discovers that Young-sun has appeared to him himself, he sends his people to catch him. In a short time, Young-sun is surrounded in a street, but due to superpower, he doesn't caught so easily. Using things around him, he somehow runs away from their catch. Then suddenly, a mysterious woman appears and takes her to a place in height with her, the place from where the story started. When the woman heard that Young-sun cannot die, the woman took out a knife and wounded on her leg, but that wound quickly healed. To further confirm his doubt, he threw Young-sun from the top of the bridge. Young-sun again went from there. He went right from there. But the story isn't calm here. A strange woman statue suddenly appears on a square of crowded. Looking carefully, she shows that she is not in statue, but a real woman who is given the form of silker statue in the deformed currency. This awesome art shake every viewer. Even police officers who checked were stunning. And the terrifying thing was that it was the third case. The last two missions were also made similarly. During this time, the eye of Young-sun becomes active again. The eye that was now in someone else's body begins to send the scene in his eyes. First she appears to a woman's face. Then the view goes forward like the camera and looks an identified symbolic statue. He realizes when memories are fresh, this is the place where he has gone before, meaning the person who pulled his eye isn't too far away. A while later he appears another scene. This time it was a notebook page with a record of making art from the loop. He immediately begins to search on the internet about core art, and then only does he discover that he who slept his eye is actually a deformed mentality serial killer. Meanwhile, police also suspect his odd act, and they prepare him for an arrest as the main suspect. The scene changes. Young-sun had reached the building where it was laid. It had the same purpose, withdrawing your eyes. He was afraid that he didn't see things he shouldn't see. But as he tries not to see anything, by the way the strange scene seems to come before him. Once she saw the sculpture made on a woman and a building. He recalled that place wasn't too far from his home, but he had gone there before. But the most shocking thing was that she saw a diary, which had a description of artworks made of zombies. He immediately began to find on the internet, and was stunning by seeing the result, because what was written in that diary was completely matching the murders with the statues of locks that happened in recent days. Then he realized that his second eye was transplanted to an insane serial killer. To get his eyes back, he discovered that building chasing the sculpture of the building he saw in the diary. But there were many floors. He couldn't understand where to start. Then by coincidence, she got the same woman she saw in the assassin's eyes. She went to her and asked if she had a boyfriend, but the woman, when she saw her tied strip on the eye, ran by fear. Later he went to meet his clan's head at a restaurant. At the same time, suddenly the same strange music began to ring again. The head, whose name was Steve, began to ache suddenly, and as well as the outside Young-sun felt uncomfortable. At the same time, Young-sun began to see the scene again from the other person's eyes. That scene was the same woman, and she was the killer, no other but her head Steve. But they were both absolutely unaware of this truth. Rather, they were engaged in cheating their boss. Young-sun found Jinon to find out that restaurant. He reached after quite a bit of his practice, but luck he missed Steve's bus from hair loss. Due to this small mistake, he took the lives of many more people. Where Young-sun was following that that murder. Unfortunately, Hunter's smuggling organs were also there. He recognized Young-sun in the crowd and started chasing. Young-sun saved life and fled to an underground tunnel. There was a horrible battle between the two. Young-sun had achieved a little lead that the gang's gang came from behind and cut off his hand without thinking. He was doing this all so that Young could see the revived capacity of Sun. And by seeing this happen Young-sun's chopped hand, everyone was surprised to see that was the mysterious force connection. Young-sun heard this word for the first time. At the same time, that mysterious woman reappeared. She dropped the gang leader and once again saved the life of Young-sun. During the conversation, it was discovered that the woman's name is Ilan. But Young-sun didn't have time. He went out to find that murder Steve immediately. As he reached close to that building, the scenes of Steve's eyes began to come into his eyes again, and now show him that a man is fighting him loudly. But the next moment, he threw the man from the building over the time. From the fall of man, the building slipped off. The benefit of this opportunity entered in. That was looking for evidence that he saw. A person took a cloth into the washroom, and that cloth was what he saw in Steve's eyes. Young-sun also went back quietly. There was just one cabin closed in the washroom, which was clean, hidden there. When he wasn't opening the door, Young-sun thought he would climb from the nearby cabin and go inside. When he climbed up, suddenly Steve took the pin and knotted into his palm. Young-sun screamed from pain and retreated. Listening this noise, security guards ran and caught him down on the ground. Falling down, Young-sun saw Steve's blood was dripping down on the ground. He dared it and touched the blood, and then Young-sun saw his injured palm healed in the moment. He was surprised. Such a revival capacity is not in humans. Guards was going to take him out. That someone called the police by considering Young-sun as a murder. Guards was going to hand him over to the police. Then that mysterious woman, Ilan, once again appeared. He unconscious the guards from the electric device. This was the third time he saved Young-sun's life. On the other hand, police started investigating Young-sun, but found that time for his building to arrive and two people's death doesn't match. It cleared that Young-sun wasn't a killer. Rather, the company's employee Steve's behavior was extremely suspicious. Steve had a fatal illness, and seeing Young-sun's ability to be resurfaced, there was a terrible plan in his mind. A short time later, Young-sun began to look again at Steve's eyes. But this time, Steve deliberately showed the same scene as there was a warning of an incoming murder. She decided that she would turn 3 little girls into her art. Young-sun didn't want to let it happen. Steve was already waiting for Young-sun sitting in the car. As soon as that song played again, the connection of his eyes became active again. But this time, Young-sun saw the face looking from behind its own. He immediately caught him on the race suddenly, who was already tracking him. Young-sun told police, with his blind eye he has seen the full view of a murder. Police heard that he was crazy. He covered his left eye and asked, "Now tell me, how much my fingers?" He said, "I can't see all the time." The police began to hear this and beat him badly. Young-sun knew no matter how clean he gave, they'd never believe in it. After all, he forced the police to take the police to the balcony and decided to perform himself. He tumbled his hands so much that the bones were crushed, then easily took out the hand from the hand, and in a few seconds the hand was completely fine. Police stroke at this. Now he is sure that Young-sun has truly any supernatural power. Young-sun told him that he has seen serial killer who is going to kill 3 children now. He told police to let him go because he understands him the best and can stop him. When the thing worsened, Young-sun tried its final handbag. He jumped down from the roof when the police arrived to see he was dead on the ground. But the next moment, Young-sun stood up alive, like a miracle was reborn. Then he flew from there. In here, Steve forwarded the same doctor who had implanted his eye. In fact, when Young-sun fled, that doctor saw his ability and transplanted into the same connection eye Steve for use. And this connection really, a company Jingdo Pharma, was a live body transplant research project. When Steve found out all this, he killed that doctor in anger. Using on a serial killer, he featured himself to die. Banned Young-sun sets fire in school to save 3 girls, and then threatened phone and close school. The next day when she returned home, Ilan was waiting for him there. Young-sun told her, "I am in danger of what this connection is inside me. Please stay away from me now. Don't harm you anywhere." But he said, "Then trust me." And suddenly, he picked up a knife and stirred himself. Young-sun was just right. He was filled in all the time. Then he realized Ilan is also a connection human being like the same. He breathes relief. So many years later, he had found someone like himself. Where the world was called monster, the Ilan adopted him as a similar person. The connection between them both was no longer just power. He had become a bond feeling each other's soul, from which they both were getting power and smoothness from each other. But the next morning, the organ hunters reached their home. Ilan fought them all, but there were many front ones. He was captured again. She was stubborn, hit them on every question. One of them, Gundo, was teased and going and hit stunning stunningly on her face. But by seeing this, all were rioted. That wound started healing slowly. Gang's gang was happy. Wow, we got gold food. But as they were slightly loose, Ilong took a chance and shocked accurate wars and easily ran away. She proved more powerful than Young-sun. Both met again later, feeling relief seeing each other's salutation. Young-sun finally reached Steve. Young-sun was now ready for the final match from Steve, but he never thought that Steve would come before him in the whole poisonous gas security suit. As he pressed the button caught in hand, poisonous gas began to spread in every corner of the roads. Actually, Steve knew that this way he would not kill Young-sun, but he knew so sure that this would lose the power to fight Young-sun for some time. Slowly, when Young-sun began to fall, Steve put his hand on his chest. Suddenly, Young-sun felt his stopped heart started beating again. He was extremely amazed, but Steve was so happy because that's what he wanted, the power of reserving the dead. After this, Young-sun was tied up in a car. Ilong saw its rapid stir from the mobile location and immediately understood that something was wrong. He began preparing to save Young-sun and also found an associate wearing a huge masked man who himself owned wonderful self-medical power. In a short time, Young-sun was taken to an old factory where the same doctor among the room had become part of art of death by becoming the old body. Seeing this, the same question was raised in Young-sun's mind. Somewhere my beloved singer didn't happen. Listening to her, Steve really pushed the singer out, but now she had broken off the torture, made a hollow body. Young-sun was filled with crime. It all happened because of me. And look at the extent of Steve's madness. He caught Young-sun so that his immense body could steal. He threatened, if you don't believe, this singer will become my next lash art. The scene changes. Ilong has now reached the place of organ businessman. With the help of mask-stripping giant partner, he finished the entire gang there. Over the time, both the Young-sun and the singer were locked in a cold room. Young-sun repeatedly called the singer, but he knew his end is near. He just said before he died, I've become a crazy because I couldn't help you. And then his breaths were stopped. The singer's death shocked Young-sun inside. The hate of Steve awakened the power within him. He stood up from the full power, added his broken arms, and started trying to break the door. Then Ilong reached there at the right time, but as he tried to open the door, Steve threatened from behind and broke a fierce battle in both. Meanwhile, police cars also reached there. Steve ran away when the situation deteriorated. By taking advantage of this opportunity, Ilong freed the small ding. Young-sun sworn in after coming out. Now the end of it will be here. While the police were halting, the final battle began. Young-sun versus Steve. Now Young-sun was more powerful than ever. His body was so fast that pills, wounds, all became vain. Steve had a gun, but Young-sun, without scared, straight toward her. He was also alive by taking the pill in the chest. Even after the pill in the head did not fall. He ran and threw Steve up, but then his mind suddenly shocked. Steve thought he probably survived now, but then Young-sun's mind again joined itself, and this time he also responded to his eyes. He was completely fine. Now his two eyes were active, and the battle of the power of eyes began between the two. Save. This was Steve's last scream. In this way, Young-sun was no longer an incomplete human being, but when he was going to replace the killed people, the police stopped him. On the explanation of the police, kindly Young-sun cited Steve to the law, but at the same time, a mysterious power around realized. By risk, Ilong caught Young-sun's hand and started running away. They both reached the roof. Many armed helicopters began to hover up, and the first season here ends.